Hello there, and welcome back to Unstuck and Friggin' Fabulous, the podcast for ambitious women ready to ditch doubt, get out of their own way, and create a life that feels bold, beautiful, and fully aligned. I am your host, Irene Lidvall, confidence and mindset coach, and this is episode number 66. And today we are going to talk about something I want you to be brutally honest with yourself about. Because when something goes wrong in your life, who do you blame? The ex, the partner, your childhood, your boss, your age, the economy, bad luck, or just circumstances? Or do you blame yourself? Because if we are honest, most of us live somewhere between blaming everyone else and blaming ourselves for absolutely everything. And neither is a great place to live, right? So today we are talking about blame, victimhood, responsibility, and all those heavy-duty things, and the stories we tell ourselves about why our lives looks the way it does. And this can be an uncomfortable thing to look at, because here's what I know. Sometimes life genuinely screws you over, and sometimes people hurt you, and sometimes you are deeply wronged. And we need to acknowledge that, because you know what? Not everything is your own fault or somebody else's, or it can be circumstances. But you have to be aware. But here's the hard truth, my darling. At some point, if you want peace, freedom, confidence, or a better life, you have to stop building your identity around what happened to you. That's the part no one wants to hear. You know, we are not what happened to us. We are actually what we think about it. Because staying angry can feel powerful, and I know that, and it helps sometimes too. Blame can feel safe, and being the victim can feel justified. And sometimes it even gives us connection, sympathy, and certainty. But it also comes with a cost, a massive cost, because the longer you stay stuck in the story of what they did, the harder it becomes to create what happens next. And this episode is not about shaming anyone. This is about awareness. This is about truth. This is about asking yourself, where am I giving my power away? I'll say that again. Where am I giving my power away? Because, ladies, you cannot heal in a mindset that keeps you powerless. So today we are going deep. We talk about why humans blame, why victimhood can feel comforting, and when it's valid, and when it becomes dangerous, and how to stop living from blame and start living from power. Because this isn't about letting anyone off the hook. This is about setting yourself free. Let that sink in. So why we blame? Here's something quite fascinating. Your brain is literally wired to blame. Yes, it is. And it's not just you. It's the human brain hates uncertainty. It does want answers. It wants certainty. And it wants to know what happened. Why did it happen? And whose fault is it? Because certainty feels safe. Even if the answer is painful, your brain would rather have a painful answer than sit in uncertainty. And that's why we blame. And it can feel weirdly satisfying. The moment you decide, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's my fault, your nervous system gets relief. Case closed, problem solved. Except not really. Because blame gives temporary relief only, but rarely a lasting freedom. And this is where it gets interesting. When something good happens, we love taking credit, right? I worked hard. I earned this. I made this happen. And when something goes bad, suddenly it's, oh, they ruined my life. The system is against me. Nothing ever works for me. Sounds familiar? Well, we all do this. This is human psychology. But if you're not careful, it becomes more than a reaction. It actually becomes a lifestyle. And who wants to live in that style? Honestly, this might sting a little bit, but stay with me. When victimhood is real, because, when it becomes part of your life, before we go any further, I need to say something important. Sometimes you really were wronged, and sometimes you genuinely were hurt. And sometimes life was really unfair, and sometimes people betrayed you. And sometimes we were lied to, abandoned, manipulated, abused, dismissed, or deeply disappointed. And that really matters. This conversation is not about pretending pain isn't real, because it is. Some of you listening right now have gone through things that change you forever, like a divorce or childhood trauma or loss or cruel words that still live in your head. And I want to be very clear. Acknowledging that you were hurt is not a weakness. It's truth. Naming what happens matter. Saying, that was wrong. That hurt me. That should never have happened. That really, my darling, does matter, because healing starts with honesty. And there's actually a purpose to victimhood in the early stage of pain. First, it gives validation. You stop making yourself wrong for being hurt. And secondly, it creates connection. You realize, oh, I'm not alone. Other women have felt this too. And that can be deeply healing. Thirdly, it can protect you. Sometimes recognizing harm is exactly what helps, and it might help you leave situations that are toxic, like relationship or a bad job or an unhealthy dynamic. That awareness can save your life. But here's where the things get a little bit tricky. There's a massive difference between being victimized and building your identity around being a victim. That's where things change. That's where suffering starts becoming a prison. So when the story becomes your identity, that's not a good thing. And this is the hard part. And this may sting a little bit. Like I said, sometimes the thing that happened to us becomes the entire story of who we are. We stop saying, that happened to me, and we start living as if that is me. That becomes an identity, and that changes everything. It sounds like this. I can't trust anyone because of what my ex did, for example, or I can't succeed because I started too late. I'm like this because of my childhood, and I'll never get opportunities, and nothing ever works for me. Now listen, there may be truth in those experiences, but they are just experiences. But here's the question. Are you using your pain as information or as a permanent identity? Because those are very, very different things. Pain should inform you, teach you, wake you up, but it should never, ever, ever become the cage you live inside. Because here's what's happened when we stay stuck in victim mode. First, we lose power. If everyone else controls your happiness, then you're powerless, right? And that's a horrible way to live, because now your peace depends on other people changing. Good luck with that, hey? And secondly, you stay stuck in the past. Victim energy keeps you looking backwards, always replaying, always revisiting, always reliving what they said, what they did, what should have happened in your book. Meanwhile, your future is waiting. And thirdly, it destroys relationships. This one is hard to hear. People want to support you, they really do. But when someone refuses to take ownership of anything, it becomes exhausting. And eventually people pull away. And then this story becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. See? Everyone leaves. The story keeps reinforcing itself. And fourthly, you keep proving yourself right. This is big, my darling. Your brain loves evidence. If your story is people always disappoint me, guess what you will notice? Everyone is a disappointment. Every slight, every rejection, every letdown. And you will miss all the good and hyper-focused on the bad. And suddenly, your whole world confirms your story. But ladies, you find what you trained your mind to look for. So start looking for positive things. And here comes the extreme, the self-blame. Now let's talk about the other side of the coin here. Because some women don't blame everyone else. They blame themselves for everything. And this is just as destructive. And I think a lot of women actually end up in this category. It's all my fault. I should have known better. It's always me who mess things up. What's wrong with me? Oh, this one runs deep, especially for us women, especially high-performing women, and especially women who grew up taking responsibility for everyone else's emotions. Some of you became the fixer and the peacekeeper, the responsible one, the good girl. So now everything feels like your responsibility. Everyone's moods, everyone's problems, everyone's happiness becomes your problem, and you try to fix it. And when something goes wrong, you automatically turn inward and you blame yourself. Now, there's a healthy self-reflection here. And that sounds like, what can I learn here? What could I do differently? That's, my darling, is growth. But toxic self-blame sounds like, it's all my fault. I'm broken. It's too much. I'm not enough. I've ruined everything I do. That's not growth. That's shame. And shame keeps women small. Here's something powerful I want you to hear. Just because something happened doesn't mean it defines who you are. A failed relationship doesn't make you unlovable. A mistake doesn't make you stupid. A betrayal doesn't make you unworthy. Your circumstances are not your identity. So your circumstances is not your identity. And here is the way out, my darling. Responsibility. Yes. So what's the answer? If blames keeps us stuck and self-blame keeps us stuck, what actually sets us free? Responsibility, right? And I know the word can feel heavy, but hear me out. Responsibility is not blame. Blame asks, whose fault is this? Responsibility asks, what do I want to do now? Big difference, right? Blame lives in the past and responsibility creates the future. And this is where your power returns. Because maybe, just maybe, you didn't choose what happened, but you do get to choose what happened next. That is power, my darling. That is freedom. And that is where life changes. And that is the shift I want for every woman listening. From why is this happening to me to who do I choose to become through this? Because we actually choose everything we do. So I want you to understand that you don't have to do anything, and you can stop blaming yourself, and you can stop being in the victimhood, and you can choose what you want. So what is your next move? That shifts, changes everything, because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to fix it, you become powerful again. And no, it doesn't mean bypassing grief. You still need to feel, grieve, cry, be angry, or process, because it all matters. But don't build a home there. Don't live there. Don't make it your identity. It's okay to feel it, move through it, and heal, then rise. Because you are not here to stay broken. You're not here to stay bitter. You're not here to keep replaying the same painful story for the next 10 years. No, 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 no. You are here to evolve. And maybe, my darling, life has been unfair. Maybe you were deeply hurt. Maybe things happened that should never have happened. And I am not minimizing that. But I want to leave you with this. Your past may explain you, but it does not have to define you. You are not powerless. Not today. Not in this moment. You still have choices. And you still have agency. You still get to decide who you want to become next. And that is where freedom begins. So if this episode hit home, I want you to ask yourself one really powerful question. Where am I giving my power away through blame? Sit with that. Sit with it. Think about it. Be honest. No shame, just awareness. Because awareness creates change. And ladies, this might just be the moment you stop pointing fingers and start reclaiming your life. I'm cheering for you, and I see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend and stop blaming. And you know what to do? Hit like and share.